Hey geeks, I'm Trey Guillotine, and you're watching Geekly Trends, where I give a few thoughts on some of the geeky trends that went on in the past week. A Tom Clancy series is getting its own show. Middle-earth Shadow of War is getting some heat for its microtransactions. Luke Cage and Iron Fist might be for hire. And the Hulk is getting his own trilogy in the MCU, but not like you think. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and share it around so others can join in the conversation. Let's get started on this week's Geekly Trends. But as I've been a big fan of Tom Clancy's Jack Ryan series and Tom Clancy stuff in general, I was really excited when we finally got our first trailer for the upcoming show, which I believe is on Amazon, about Jack Ryan. And it looks like it's focusing on the beginning of Jack Ryan's career as a CIA analyst. As a CIA analyst, Jack Ryan is basically a desk jockey with the CIA. He was trained at Langley. He went through the basic training that most CIA agents presumably go through, because I don't know anything about the actual real CIA. But he's not an action hero. He is a CIA analyst. He is a brain. He is a smart guy who sits at a desk and he looks at information and he kind of interprets information that he's getting about terrorist groups or about events that are about to happen based on the messages that he's intercepting across various channels. And for the most part, he's usually right. That's kind of like his big thing, is that he's very smart, he's very gifted at his job, and he's usually right. And usually they're not going to listen to him at the beginning. It's like, oh, Jack Ryan, you're totally wrong about that. But then he ends up being right, and he's so right and so good at his job that he's then basically forced out of his desk and put into the middle of this combat zone dangerous situation, which again, he's not really an action hero. But at the same time, he's put in these situations where he kind of becomes the action hero among other agents that he's with. And that's something I've always liked about this character, is that he wasn't, the big macho action hero. He was a smart guy, and he was kind of forced to survive these situations and like step up above his station to survive. To not only survive, but also to save the day and make sure whatever threat is going on is undone. And I'm actually really excited that John Krasinski is actually playing Jack Ryan. I've always thought John Krasinski was a good actor ever since The Office, so I'm really excited to see that he's not only in this show, but headlining this show. He's the main character. He is Jack Ryan. He is the star of this show, and it's such a different show than I've seen him in. It's like I said, not only is this an talent show, it also is an action show. So I'm really excited to see how he does in this role. But in general, I'm very excited about the Jack Ryan series. I'm a big Tom Clancy fan, so I'm very excited to see this series coming out in 2018. Middle-earth Shadow of War, which was the sequel to Shadow of Mordor, just came out in the past week, and it's already kind of getting some controversial reviews because of its microtransactions. Where the controversy comes in is the microtransactions that the studio has put into the game, which are basically just loot chests that will give you rare gear and rare orcs that you need to defeat to get the true ending. There's like the 3 or 4 acts of the game, and there's an end to the 4th act, and then there's kind of like a 5th epilogue act, and then there's a true ending to that act. And the only way to do that is by defeating certain orcs that are kind of rare spawns, or you can get them in the loot chest that does cost real world money. The few reviews of the entire game that I have seen, while they do mention the microtransactions, they also say that they're not necessary, that if you don't want to pay for them, you don't have to, and that there is a way to beat the game and get the true ending without going through the microtransactions, that you just find these orcs and you find these things in the world as they spawn in the world. From some, I've heard that it's not that big of a deal, that it's not a hard grind. Others, I've seen that it's a very tedious grind and they hate doing it. So I've seen arguments on both sides, but ultimately I have seen that you can beat the game without getting the microtransactions. But even so, people are still frustrated that it's even a thing. It is for the most part, single player game, and you rarely see loot boxes, which which are basically just random boxes that you can either earn in-game currency for or pay real currency for, that will basically give you extra weapons, or special gear, or special characters, or special costumes or skins. And it really depends on the game whether it's kind of a pay-to-win situation where the stuff that makes it easier to play the game and make it easier to win at the game is given in the loot chest, or if it's just random cosmetic stuff that's really just for fun. People are just frustrated that this kind of pay to win system, as they see it, has been put into a single player game, and they're just really disappointed in that. And I don't disagree, but at the same time, I also feel like it's a symptom of a greater money-grabbing scheme within the entire game industry with DLC and with launching unfinished games. That this is something that when I heard about it, I wasn't really surprised. It kind of felt like this is something that's always been there, which it hasn't always been there, but it feels like I was already familiar with the idea, and I was like, yeah, whatever. But I can see the frustration with some gamers for this system. Some rumors have been spreading about Luke Cage's second season. Not only have we seen a picture of Detective Misty Knight with her new robotic arm, but we've also found out that Iron Fist will appear in Luke Cage's second season, but we don't know exactly in what way. This is pretty exciting, as there is a comic series, from what I've come to understand, called Heroes for Hire, which they did have a kind of nod to in one of the episodes of Luke Cage, where he says, "I'm not for hire." There is a series where Luke Cage and Iron Fist kind of team up for their own. It was kind of just, they were basically superheroes for hire. When you needed superheroes, people could come hire them and they would save the day. That's from what I've come to understand about that comic series. And it sounds really cool. The idea of it sounds really cool, but I'm also excited just to see Luke Cage and Iron Fist together. I don't know if this is going to be for one episode, or if it's going to be like an entire season story arc, or even if the Heroes for Hire is the direction that they're going. But given that they're putting these two characters together in the show, I do think that is the direction that they're going to be going. But I'm very excited to see them together, because of the Defenders, they are probably the most good guy heroes. There's Daredevil, who is very angsty and trying to figure out, he doesn't want to be Daredevil, he doesn't want to be violent, but it's part of who he is and wants to save his city. And then Jessica Jones is, of course, very antisocial and just a very angry character. And then you have Luke Cage and Danny Rand, who accept their abilities and want to use them for the greater good. Luke Cage wants to make Harlem a better place. Danny Rand wants to protect New York and get the hand out of New York and protect people with his abilities. And they're kind of the more optimistic of the defenders that we've seen. So putting them together, some of their instances in Defenders was actually just really entertaining to watch. They were just very entertaining together. So I'm really excited to see how that's going to work in the upcoming season 2 of Luke Cage, and if Heroes for Hire is the direction that they're going to be going. Hulk is finally getting his own spotlight in the MCU. We haven't seen him since Age of Ultron, where he kind of went into, I'm guessing, a kind of self-imposed exile because he didn't want to hurt anyone anymore. And now, of course, we are seeing him in just a month in Thor Ragnarok. Well, apparently Thor Ragnarok is going to be the first part of a trilogy of story arcs that the Hulk is going to be getting, that is going to focus on Hulk and Bruce Banner over the next 3 movies of Thor Ragnarok, Avengers Infinity War, and then Avengers 4. We don't know any other details about it, but given that what we've seen of Thor Ragnarok in the trailers, it does look like it's going with the Planet Hulk storyline, where he's on the planet, he becomes a gladiator, and then he ends up leading a rebellion on that planet and then becomes king of that planet. Let's just speculate that that's what's going to happen, that Hulk is going to lead a rebellion, probably along with Thor and maybe even Doctor Strange and Loki, to rebel on that planet and save the planet and become a king on that planet, along with helping Thor defeat Hela on Asgard and taking back Asgard. So let's just speculate and assume that Hulk is going to be essentially the king of that planet by the end of Thor Ragnarok. So then what's going to happen in Infinity War and then Avengers 4? From what I've come to understand in the comics, after Planet Hulk, Hulk goes into World War Hulk, where he basically takes his planet army and and invades Earth and basically attacks the people who wronged him when he was on Earth, who kind of treated him like a monster. Basically the other Avengers who treated him poorly and treated him as a monster. I don't think that's the direction it's going to go, but I do think that Hulk would probably be the kind of leader of an army, which might play into Infinity War. Which, given that Thanos has just, I'm guessing, a huge army behind him and all these minions, I'm guessing the Avengers are probably going to need that as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a kind of World War Hulk style invasion into Thanos' army, where it's basically Hulk's army versus Thanos' army. Again, this is all speculation, just basing on what we've seen in Thor Ragnarok of Hulk, and kind of wondering about the direction that this trilogy story arc of Hulk is going to be going. I'm super excited about this. I think Mark Ruffalo as the Hulk was one of the best parts of the first Avengers, and I've really missed the Hulk and Bruce Banner because that's a character I really relate with. I like the duality, I like the self-doubt that Bruce Banner and the Hulk kind of go through as they go through their story. So I'm super excited to have the Hulk back in Thor Ragnarok. As soon as that was announced years ago, I was very excited just about that. And now I'm also super excited for the Hulk to be getting kind of his own trilogy story arc. When you're planning your next Wizard World Comic Con experience, make sure to use the discount code GuillotineGeek online to get 10% off your ticket purchase, and use those savings to buy some merch or meet a celebrity. What do you think about this week's Geekly Trends, and are there any trends you'd like to talk about? Let me know in the comments and follow me on all the internets. If you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up and share it around so others can join in the conversation. Check out my written content at guillotinegeek.blogspot.com. You can support future content by becoming a patron on my Patreon, and subscribe to my channel to geek out some more. Thanks for watching and have fun. So Captain America, Thor, Hulk.